Hi guys, this is Charlene at CrowSong Lodge, and I know there's been like a giant gap between videos, but that's okay. You know, life things come up, and a lot of stuff has been going on. You know, we have been really crazy with the podcast. We have a lot of if you haven't been keeping up on that, that's at wewitches3.com. I'll put a link down in the description below. We've been doing a lot of episodes. We've been doing a lot of interviews, reading a lot of books, studying up on a lot of topics. So that has been keeping me really, really busy. So definitely check it out because I'm absolutely loving it. I'm so proud of the podcast that we've been putting together for you guys. I definitely want you guys to check it out. But now that we've kind of settled into a rhythm and kind of sort of know what we're doing, we still have some changes coming up that you guys will get to check out soon. But I do want to come back and bring some attention back to this YouTube channel. Something that has been on my mind, I've had a lot of things on my mind that I want to talk to you guys about, but something that's been on my mind a lot the last couple days, and I just had a couple personal experiences that have really had me mulling it over, particularly in the last couple days, a specific instance today and a specific instance yesterday that kind of reminded me and nudged me to go ahead and do this video, is around the topic of snooping. Well, I used to consider snooping when I was growing up, and what was taught to me is snooping. But I guess what is more commonly considered now as like unsolicited psychic advice or unsolicited spiritual advice. And this could be friendly advice on a spiritual matter, like if someone is complaining about something, like if they're struggling with meditation or something, and you're like, hey, what worked for me is to do blah, blah, blah. Or it could be a message that you're getting from your intuition or psychic gifts or guides or guardians or whatever that you think that they might want to hear. So this is what that in particular would be like: a spontaneous, unsolicited psychic reading of some sort. And when I was growing up, you know, my mother was a tarot reader, and she formally was a tarot, formally as in like in a formal way, officially. But she was also just like a general intuitive and psychic, and so when I was growing up, there was a lot of etiquette around that, and I was kind of taught that was snooping. Like, you don't read someone without their permission. And I know what you guys are saying out there. You're like, the information just comes to me. Sometimes my guides are like, hey, this person, that thing they just said, right? And I get that, okay? Because, like, I have that problem sometimes too. I'm claircognizant, and, like, honest to goodness, I'm also nosy. Okay, I'm a professional tarot reader. Like, this is what I do for my business, and I'm a naturally curious person. So of course I'm just getting extra information whenever I'm talking to someone, and I kind of have to like mind my manners not to do that. But I'm always curious, and the way my claircognizance very much works is like I wonder something, and then the answer is in my brain. And it's not like I intentionally look for the information. I'm just like, I'm curious if this is going on. And then I know whether or not it is. And that's the way claircognizance works for me. So I get it. Like, sometimes you just have information in your brain and you didn't go snooping. And if you're protesting, you're like, hey, Charlene, I didn't snoop. Okay, I'm minding my manners. That's fine. Okay. But if you're the other person, sometimes that can feel like someone was snooping, like rummaging around in your mind, rummaging around in your emotions, looking through your closet, up in your underwear drawer, checking out your personal matters when they were not invited to. And that is my first reason for why you should not be giving unsolicited psychic advice, especially information that was gained intuitively or psychically. Like, my second biggest reason that you shouldn't be giving unsolicited psychic advice, either advice on spiritual or psychic matters, or advice that you gained through spiritual means, is that giving people unsolicited advice is rude. Okay? Like, when people are just having conversation with you and they're like bitching and moaning and complaining, they're not looking for advice. We have this weird social urge sometimes to want to give people advice, and that's rude. Most of the time when people are bitching about something or complaining about something or kind of ranting and raving, they're looking for commiseration. They're looking for you to have understanding. They're not looking for you to solve it. And I myself have experienced this the last couple days. I'm participating in the Shadow Work October Challenge, and I actually had someone, I shared one of the results of the challenge question for the day, and I was like, this is the thing that I was prompted to mull over, and this is what the conclusion I came to myself. And then I drew some cards to see what they had to add, and yeah, it was the same thing. So this is the conclusion I came to, and this is what I'm going to do about it. And I had a friend of mine post, and they were like, have you considered doing the thing you just said that you were going to do about it? Also, you should consider consulting this person that they don't know that I can't stand. So the fact that they were reiterating to me a suggestion saying that I should do the thing that I just said that I was going to do makes me feel unheard. And a lot of times that's true for other people. When they're complaining about a situation or something that happened to them, the advice that we want to give them either is no longer relevant because that moment has passed, or is something that they've already come to, or they really aren't looking for it. They're not in a place to receive that information at that moment. When people want advice, they ask for it. For instance, I'm in the middle of buying a car. I've never bought a car in my life, and so what I did was I went to a bunch of people and I was like, hey, I'm trying to figure out this thing. What do you think? What is your advice on this topic? What information do you have about this thing? I very specifically asked for that information, and in this particular manner, I am not a weirdo. That's actually the way most people are. Like, when we want advice, we ask for advice. When we're complaining, we're just complaining and we're looking for commiseration. So when you are in a conversation, or if you're in a community and someone's saying like, ugh, this thing just happened in my practice, I can't believe it happened, I'm so grumpy about it, I was so frustrated in that moment, they're not looking for you to be coming down off the mountain to give them your hard-won advice. They're looking for you to be like, dude, I've so been there. That fucking sucks. That's what they're looking for. If they want advice, they're going to specifically ask for that advice. So unsolicited advice in the first place is rude. And then we have the compounded fact that so many people in the spiritual community are so very full of ego. And I'm not sure why that is. I have a lot of badly formed theories that are just like little whispers of thought. Like, I don't have any solid theories, you guys. But I do know it's a thing. That when it comes to spiritual communities, every community or group or tribe or coven has its hierarchy. And people are very, very married to their position in that hierarchy. Especially the higher you get, or the higher you perceive yourself to be. And because of that weird structure we have in our spiritual communities, a lot of the advice that is given very much comes from a place of ego. And when you then give advice because of this state of spiritual communities, it is often perceived as coming from a place of ego. Now, hold up. I'm not saying you are coming from a place of ego, but I'm saying that so often advice is given from a place of ego. It's given because people are trying to show off that they've conquered this issue, or they're above this issue, or they know so much more than everyone around them, or that they should be a font of wisdom from which other people seek to drink. That giving advice often makes people feel shamed. They feel like you're coming to them from a place of ego, and that because of the actions of other people that they should feel less than. And we don't want to make people feel that way. And yet you can make the argument like, if they're feeling that way, I shouldn't be responsible for the crimes of other people. But you should also be aware that that's a very large risk that you would be running. Now, there is, of course, a way that you can give advice in a way that isn't rude, because this whole time we've been talking about unsolicited advice. We're talking about advice that has not been asked for, advice that comes without consent. So a very easy way you can give advice, if you want to give advice, is to ask someone if they want it. That's it. That's the way you get away with a clear conscience. And you make it clear that if the answer is no, that's fine. You don't want to come into the situation like, you know, I can help you solve that if you want. You're just going to have to ask. You don't want to come in like that, like all full of ego and like, let me just throw this bit of bait out there, but you have to, I'm not doing vampire rules here. You know, but you want to come in like real casual and cool. Give them that commiseration that they're looking for. If you're going to participate at all, like you don't have to fucking participate in every conversation. Okay? So just if you want to be empathetic and sympathetic and really be of service to someone, and you see a situation that you can be of help with, be sincere, always come from a genuine place, but start with that validation. Like, yeah, man, that situation sucks. It's really hard. I've been there. It makes me feel this way too. Yeah, it's awful. I have some thoughts on that if you want to hear it. Or the way that I've learned to handle that is really helpful, and I'd be happy to share that with you if you want. Or if you're getting like some psychic advice from their guides or whatever source you like to tap into, you can be like, I'm kind of getting a message about that for you too. I don't know if you're open to that or not. Like, just give them like, I'm not invested in this advice for you. So if you want it, it's here. If not, that's cool. Or you can come back and get it later, like whatever. So just remember to lead with the validation. Dude, that sucks. And then offer. And then make sure it's clear that saying no is perfectly fine. And then if they say no, make sure it's really perfectly fine. That has to be sincere. Because if them declining your advice is not okay, then you really are coming from a place of ego, and that probably needs some work. Okay? And yes, I get it. This whole video, you could try to perceive this as unsolicited spiritual or psychic advice in itself, but you clicked on the video. So anyway, yes, we all have the ability to make a YouTube channel or a podcast or blog posts or Facebook posts or whatever, where we can shout our unsolicited advice into the void. So if you really, really have that urge, then absolutely go for it. We could always use more sources of experience and more people to reach out, to lift other people up and share their experiences with them. Like, dude, like so many people discourage shouting into the void being the internet or whatever. But it's actually so helpful for so many other people to see that other humans are having experiences, or to start a conversation on something that maybe other people weren't comfortable with or didn't know they wanted a conversation about. So absolutely, if you see something that you need to discuss, or that you really feel like you have a passion for talking about, then talk about it. You don't have to like interrupt every conversation, or you don't need to hijack conversations with other people to get your piece said. You can just spontaneously generate that conversation yourself, and that's totally cool. So yeah, there's room for your advice, and there's room for you to find a platform. There's room for you to find your podium to say your true words and your good advice out there. But you don't need to interrupt somebody else's flow in order to do that. And if you have advice, offer it, but don't but don't just stick it out there and hope that they have the grace to accept it or that you're not running over them in the process. So yeah, that's what I have to say about unsolicited advice in general, in particular in the spiritual community. And so this is Charlene at CrowSong Lodge, and yeah, thanks for watching this video. Bye.